Hello, I'm Zeke, and welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania. The guest I have today is a Philadelphia native who is now based in the capital of Pennsylvania working as a political correspondent for the Keystone Newsroom. He has built a reputation for cutting through the noise with insightful reporting and a deep understanding of politics across the Commonwealth. Thank you so much for being here, Sean Kitchen.
I'm Zeke, a doctor, a Pennsylvanian, and an unapologetic supporter of democratic values. You might have seen me on social media working my ass off for Democrats and meeting some pretty amazing people along the way, like President Barack Obama and Governor Josh Shapiro. For years, I've knocked thousands of doors all over Pennsylvania and poured my heart and soul into supporting candidates and causes that make a difference, from local school board races to national elections. The personal is political, and I take every election in Pennsylvania personally. Where the mainstream media has failed you, I will give you truth and independence. You'll hear from Democratic leaders, candidates, and changemakers who are working to improve the health of the Commonwealth, and it won't be boring as hell. No matter where you are, I'll meet you with hope and a plan to make your community better one day at a time. Welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to join you.
It's great. You're the first journalist to be on the Zekely Podcast. But you do a lot of great things for Democrats across the Commonwealth. So we're going to learn all about you, play some games, and have some fun. So you ready?
No, thank you. I'm honored. Let's do this.
All right. Well, as someone who is a writer for a local news agency, what are your thoughts on the mainstream media? I
have a lot of thoughts on the mainstream media. I mean, I feel like we're just watching mainstream media and different people failing to meet the moment we're in. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty apparent with Trump. You had people going from MSNBC with Joe Scarborough to going to Mar-a-Lago, Bill Maher on HBO going to Mar-a-Lago. You have people really just like not covering things as well that should be covered. And I mean, also we're seeing times with the media consolidations right here with the Trump administration and how people or news organizations that might have a merger on the line play footsies with the administration or not cover things that should be covered in certain ways because they want to get that deal done. I mean, the way that the media spent so much time talking about Mamdani's win over the summer while not really talking about the main issues that are going on, especially when it comes to Trump's big, beautiful bill. Budget that got passed that cut Medicaid by $1 trillion. And, you're going to have at least 500,000 people here in Pennsylvania lose their healthcare coverage because of this. I mean, we spent time, we're arguing about, not we, but people in the media are talking about this when they're getting distracted by what's going on from the real picture. I think some of the stuff that Trump is doing, a lot of it, yes, very fascist, very authoritarian. And it's really just distracting us from keeping our eye off the ball. But it's also, but these are also things that are dangerous to our country right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad there are people like you who are trying to put out good information for Pennsylvanians and keep people focused, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening in Pennsylvania that is super important. And, you're part of the process to keep people on the right track.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, let's play a game. Okay. It's called Name That Headline. So I'm going to read you a short summary of a real news story, and your job is to guess which headline actually ran. Okay. You should be a pro at this. So here's the story. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro launched a program to cover the cost of college tuition for students entering certain high demand fields. All right, so here are the three headlines. The first one is Shapiro hands out free college degrees like candy. The second one is Governor Shapiro announces free tuition program for critical jobs. And the third is Pennsylvania students told to get a job instead of a loan.
I mean, the correct answer, in my opinion, would be the second opinion.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, these days you could imagine any of them could be anywhere, but you are correct. But here's another one. Erie County invested in expanding solar panel projects for public buildings. All right, so that's the story. Here are the three titles. Solar surge, Erie County goes green with new panels. Local officials warn residents to buy sunglasses for glare, or solar energy sparks outrage at town hall.
Oh, obviously the first one, solar surge.
Yeah, the first one. Very good. All right, here's the last one. Pennsylvania received millions in federal funds to repair bridges under the bipartisan infrastructure law. All right. So the first one is Pennsylvania bridges finally get their fix thanks to federal funds. PA bridges collapse under the weight of federal overspending, or infrastructure week again.
I'm going with the first one on that one.
First one, you're right. The reason why I wanted to do this with you is because I do believe that headlines matter. It's supposed to catch someone's attention. And I feel like these days in the mainstream media, they do a lot of false, catchy headlines, right? They take information and they misconstrue it. And I don't know what the numbers are. You probably know better than me. I mean, what percentage of people actually read an entire article? Like, how do people just like read the headline and the blurb underneath and they move on to the next scroll, right?
I mean, I would say not a lot of people read the full articles, but I mean, like if
Right.
you look what social media is doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that has really taken off, especially on Instagram, are the carousel slideshows. You have the headline
Mm-hmm.
card,
Yeah.
compelling headline,
Mm-hmm.
swipe over, you have a couple of sentences summarizing the article, and then just like a quote to go with it. No, I mean, like having a headline is important these days. It's going to set the frame of that story.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I wanted to do this game with you because there are great things that the Democrats do all the time. I know that, you know that. But in a lot of mainstream places, the article titles are framed in a very slanted negative way. And if you don't really pay attention to know what's going on, you can be misled.
Some of that also goes down to news agencies and news organizations not willing to like name the villain. I think like one of the most direct things to do is just like name the subject of the person that's doing the action in the
Mm-hmm.
article. Like for instance, I think an example going on right now, especially with SEPTA, you'll see headline cards with the Pennsylvania General Assembly
Mm-hmm.
or lawmakers in Harrisburg. It's like, no, it's the Pennsylvania Senate Republicans. Like
Right.
this is who is this is the people doing the action. And I
100%.
think like every article talking about the transit crisis in Philadelphia, talking about this stuff happening across the state, Pennsylvania Senate Republicans, they got to be front and center
Mm-hmm.
with this. Because if you tell people that like lawmakers in Harrisburg or
Right.
legislators, it's just very generic. It doesn't name the enemy, it doesn't
Right.
name the people doing the action. And it makes it seem that, oh, well, like it's both parties are not doing it when
Mm-hmm.
one party has passed 5 funding bills and the other has
Right.
not.
Headlines matter. Headlines matter. Well, thank you for playing Name That Headline. Sean, did you know you wanted to be a journalist when you grew up?
Yes, and it took a while to get there. So I went to high school in Center City, Philadelphia. I went to Roman Catholic High School in the
Mhm.
2000s, and my freshman year is when the Iraq War started. And I remember in grade school, I had a teacher who spent the whole entire day basically telling us like this war is bullcrap. And like the day it started, she canceled class in 8th grade
Okay.
and pretty much like did something back then, which like thinking about it 20 or 30 years later is like suicidal for your career, especially like woke teachers doing this. I mean,
Okay.
like telling your, well, no, like imagine your teacher telling students why this war is bad
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
having
yeah.
family members think about you bringing politics into the classroom and stuff like
Right.
that. But I mean, having a teacher explain that, and she spent the whole day just going over it, was really a big influence on me politically. But
Mhm.
I would say, like in high school, I started watching Keith Oberman
Okay.
and him just like throwing bombs all the time, and just he was the only person just willing to call out the George W. Bush administration for the stuff that they were doing in the 2000s. And I mean, like that's where I got my inspiration to be a journalist, just like speak truth to power and just like hold people accountable for.
That's great. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I was in high school. So I think it's pretty impressive that you carried that through.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really long path to get here. It was
Yes,
not straight and narrow, but I made it.
you made
And
it.
it took a lot of work and it's fun.
I'm happy you're here, man. Well, Sean, why do you choose to tell the truth?
I mean, one because you have to. It's
Do
ethical.
you? Do you have to tell the truth?
I mean, you should tell the truth if you're a journalist because you shouldn't be spreading misinformation or disinformation. You also have to have like a good frame on the way you frame your stories and making sure like you don't reiterate a narrative that the opposition put out, like
Okay.
or try to defend yourself from that as well.
Well, you used the word ethical, right? So you clearly
Yes.
have an ethical core to tell the truth to the best of your abilities. That's why I pose that question. What do ethics matter to you as a journalist?
Yeah, no, I mean, getting the truth is putting the truth out there is the most important thing when getting your story factually correct is obviously the most important thing when it comes to getting journalism, getting the story correct. But it's also framing it and putting people who might be affected, finding different people to tell the stories instead of just
Mhm.
putting out like spitting out just like facts and numbers.
Well, I'm glad that you have an ethical core with a compass that leads to the truth because as I'm sure you can see as clear as day when you go online or see the media today, they don't always follow that same compass. So, thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
John, what do you wish more people knew or paid attention to in regard to the news in Pennsylvania?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I mean, I think the biggest thing I see this a lot with people over the past year. I honestly think we need to start teaching civics again in class in schools.
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot of emails last year from readers, from people who may not agree with what we're saying. And there is a like disconnect with people not knowing how state, local, federal government works. Like a lot of people saying emails like, yeah, we're going to send Bob Casey back to Harrisburg, which like as much as I love Bob Casey,
Yeah.
but getting those type of emails just shows that there is this disconnect in the general population where people don't
Mhm.
understand how government works, or like, and we just need to have like a civics.
Do you think that there's any way from a news or media standpoint that they could put out a series or articles on basic civics? I mean, how can we captivate the electorate to watch this kind of stuff or read it?
I mean, we try to inform people on that type of stuff.
Mhm.
Each year we do voter guides. So for instance, we have the Supreme Court election coming up
Oh, yeah.
this year, and a lot of people don't realize what the Supreme Court election is, or what a
Mhm.
retention election is, and what that means. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of education going on for that type of stuff. Even
Yeah.
though the numbers might be in your favor with the retention, you still have to teach people on what it means and get them out to vote.
Well, thank you for doing that, and I'm trying to do my part to educate people about civics and keep people engaged because, democracy is a marathon and we all have to do our part.
No, absolutely.
Sean, you went to Kutztown University and you earned a bachelor's in environmental science and geography, correct?
Yes.
So you already said, in high school, you knew you wanted to be a journalist. How did you parlay environmental science and geography into journalism?
When I was in college, I didn't really have a path of what I wanted to do,
Okay.
like major wise.
Hmm.
I went into political science and just thought I just didn't like that, and went into geography. And then geography isn't just looking at maps, right? You are spatially analyzing things, state, local, federal levels. You are
Hmm.
looking at maps, your computer models. So you're thinking of how things happen around you in different ways or different orders. And or globalization is also a big thing with that. And at Kutztown, they added an environmental science track instead of like a bachelor's degree, like a BA and bachelor's of arts. They
Hmm.
added a science track program. And with that, I got into the environmental stuff. So I got into had to take chemistry, physics, like all that type of stuff.
Hmm.
Doing 4 semesters of lab a few semesters in a row was not fun, because I did
Yeah.
that very late in college. But I think going through the science process and just going through the experiments and report on it, it's like you report on the facts. Either your
Hmm.
experiment worked or it didn't work, and you have to go figure out why it didn't work. And then also like the research, knowing how different parts of government works
Hmm.
through the geography classes. That's how I got involved with this.
That
I
is.
mean, we're talking about learning about zoning, local municipal
Hmm.
planning, all that type of fun stuff that people you
Yeah.
don't really know a lot about.
I find it so interesting that you paired the scientific method into truth, right? Because that's the thing about science. Is like science doesn't lie, right? You have a hypothesis, you test the hypothesis, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but both are reportable. I mean, I read a lot of journals, and a lot of times journals are just stating studies that didn't have the results that they thought they were going to happen, right? You have two medications, you give them, and there was no difference between the two. That's not a failure of science. There's a lot of truth that happened there. And you took that scientific method and applied it to journalism, right? You're telling the truth. You're telling people the facts. So that makes a lot of sense to me how you translated that to where you are today. Sean, you're based in Harrisburg now, correct?
Yes.
Do you miss living in Philly?
Yes, I do. So I was born and raised in Philly. I grew up in the Juniata, Kensington part of the city. So I used to take the L in the subway into school every day. I mean, I'm sure you saw in the newsletter today. I wrote about how that experience of growing up on taking SEPTA
Hmm.
really molded me and stuff like that. But I mean, I love Philly. I love going back to Philly, the Italian market, the Reading Terminal, and all those fun spots.
Hmm.
But it's been crazy that I've been out in Harrisburg for 10 years now. I literally have lived in the same building since the day I moved in here. I have
Okay.
not moved. I thought I was going to be in Harrisburg for a couple of years and then move back to Philly. And I mean, I live a few hundred feet away from the Susquehanna River. It's awesome if you like the outdoors, hiking, and the Appalachian Trails right here.
That's great. Next time you come around these parts again, because I live right outside of Philly, we should get together. we're going to play a game called Philly v. Harrisburg, but sports edition. Okay. So, like, I literally, as people know who listen or watch the show, I am not a very sporty person, but hopefully you'll do better than me. Okay. So, first question: which NBA star played for the Harrisburg-based AAU team final before going pro?
Man, I do not know. He's not the Globetrotters coach, is he?
So I'll give you three choices: Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, or Tyrese Maxey.
I have no clue. You said
Tyrese.
Embiid, Maxey?
Yep, Tyrese Maxey.
Okay.
There you go.
I did not know that.
Well, maybe we'll get this next one. The Harrisburg High Cougars have produced several NFL players. Which current star defensive lineman is a Harrisburg alum?
The guy he plays for the Packers now. God, you were like putting me on the spot where I should know these people's names. Or
It's okay. Is it Micah
he just got traded
Parsons?
from Micah
Aaron-
Parsons.
Micah Parsons. Okay, you got it. There you go.
Yeah.
It was on the tip of your tongue. All right.
Yeah, he just got traded from the Dallas Cowboys.
There you go. Philadelphia was home to the very first professional sports league in the U.S. Which sport was it? Was it
And where's
baseball, basketball, or football?
I'm going to say baseball.
It was basketball. The Basketball
wow.
Association of America, which was the predecessor to the NBA. Yeah. All right, here's the last one. In the 1990s, the Harrisburg Senators had a popular between-inning gimmick where a life-sized mascot version of what Pennsylvania food raced around the bases? Was it a
Is it
soft
a pierogi?
Was it a soft pretzel, a Hershey Kiss, or a cheesesteak?
Wow, I thought it would be a pierogi.
Nope.
So soft pretzel, what else?
Hershey Kiss
Cheesesteak?
or a cheesesteak?
Hershey Kiss.
It was
Hershey
a
Kiss.
cheesesteak. Cheesesteak.
Wow.
Yeah, cheesesteak.
I thought they wouldn't have that out here.
They had it.
I think they may have pierogies now.
Well, they might. Back then, it was a cheesesteak. But thank you for playing Philly v. Harrisburg Sports Edition. Sean, why are you a Democrat?
I am a Democrat. I mean, I grew up in a labor household in Philadelphia, and I think one of the things that really stuck with me the most, I grew up and I watched my dad lose his job. You see the big Acme warehouse in West Philly.
Yeah.
My dad used to work there in the 1990s and 2000s. And he worked there from the moment he graduated high school in the 1970s up until the moment he got laid off. And he missed getting a full pension at 50 by like 2.5 years because Acme decided to shut the warehouses down in Philadelphia and outsource their labor to Lancaster for lower wages. And growing up, I put two and two together in high school and college and that stuff. And also like the Iraq War was going on. And I grew up in the Philly punk rock scene and just like all those things. You're just going to be an inclusive person.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Which is just not what the Republican Party stands for today. Like, I mean, seeing what happened to my dad was a huge motivating factor, you know, my working class roots and also, you know, being a registered Democrat.
Yeah. And also you want to tell the truth, Sean.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, Sean, what's a new initiative that you're pursuing journalistically at this time?
So I am launching the Keystone Labor Report, or I've launched the Keystone Labor Report, which is a twice-a-week newsletter focusing on labor and economic issues here in Pennsylvania. We switched around the way we are reporting on our news at Courier and Keystone. Instead of like reporting on stuff like every day, like writing news of the day type stories, I am now focusing on like specifically labor and economic issues here in Pennsylvania, union issues. So there's a void here in Pennsylvania for labor reporting, and you know we're going to cover that like on the state and local level.
Are there any particular labor issues you're focusing on?
Right now, we just had within the past couple of weeks, UPMC nurses out in Pittsburgh just voted to unionize a UPMC hospital for the first time, which is absolutely historic. UPMC is Pennsylvania's largest employer. They have been openly hostile to the unions in the past. Some of their hospitals are unionized, but they're unionized because they acquired a hospital through a merger that had a union there previously, and they brought the union into the fold. So this vote at the UPMC McGee Hospital, the Women's Center out in Pittsburgh, you had 1,000 nurses vote to unionize. It was the most amount of nurses, Pennsylvania nurses, that unionized at once in recent history. Also, the first time you unionized UPMC hospital location, which is really big news if you want to change the healthcare system here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You're doing great work. I love reading your newsletters. How can people get access and sign up for your newsletter?
So you can sign up to the newsletter by going to the KeystoneNewsroom.com. There's a newsletters tab up at the top. I think it might be under more. You just see like Keystone Labor Report, or Just find my profile on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I know people still use it. I still use it because of the media. Blue
Uh-huh.
Sky. If you're still on Twitter or Blue Sky, there's a link in my bio,
Hmm.
and you can easily just sign up there.
Sounds good. I signed up, and I encourage all my listeners and watchers to sign up as well. Sean, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, repealed the Fairness Doctrine in 1987, arguing that it had a chilling effect on free speech and it was no longer necessary due to the proliferation of media outlets. So that basically meant there are essentially no government regulations enforcing truthfulness on these platforms. Do you feel there should be some government oversight in reporting the news?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. There should be something with the Fairness Doctrine,
Yeah.
and at least and the Fairness Doctrine, basically what that did was it allowed both sides to have a say. So if someone's going to say something on one side, the other side has an opportunity to say the same, like a rebuttal within the media systems. I'm really like distilling it down, but I think you can see after that, it wasn't just the Fairness Doctrine. Like after the Fairness Doctrine, you had consolidation of right-wing radio stations. You had consolidation of Christian radio stations.
Mhm.
Like the right-wing media apparatus has been really cultivating itself since the 1980s when the
Yeah.
Fairness Doctrine was repealed. And one of the things where if you're involved in independent media and progressive media on the left, you're at a disadvantage because of that.
Right.
Building this infrastructure out for 3 decades now.
Yeah. I mean, Rush Limbaugh, he birthed that movement essentially. After the FCC got rid of the Fairness Doctrine, Rush Limbaugh basically took off. And that literally dragged down, all progressiveness in that space and, attracted a base of listeners that eventually branched out when Fox News came out. I mean, it just really set the tone for that entire genre.
Yeah, and I think you had a little bit of pushback, or not pushback, but you had a little bit of space from like the Democratic side in the 90s and 2000s
Mhm.
with Air America, but they didn't really have the capacity to compete with the
Mhm.
right-wing radio stations after the gutting of the Fairness Doctrine.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just terrible. There definitely needs to be some government oversight. This is really out of control. So I'm glad you believe there should be some oversight when it comes to telling the truth in the media. All right, let's play a game, okay? It's called FCC Won't Let Me Be. Okay, a little trivia game that I came up with. Little nod to Eminem. So in 2004, the FCC fined Clear Channel $755,000 for indecency violations on what show?
Is there a multiple choice?
It is. I didn't make
I'm
this a
trying to think
multiple
of the
choice.
time.
Yeah, it's 2004, a talk show.
Talk show in 2000.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Howard Stern.
Okay,
Yep, Howard Stern got fined almost $1 million.
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which like today, that's like nothing today, right? Like if you get fined like almost $1 million, it's like what? Now we're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars. You have to basically say an election was stolen when it wasn't to like get a nod or a fine these days.
Yeah, well, you can say a lot of things today without anything
I
really
know, not getting
happening.
any fines, right? All right, here's another one. What Philadelphia show was one of the first stations to test the Fairness Doctrine enforcement when activists demanded equal airtime for civil rights issues in the 1960s?
Is it a
Yeah.
TV show?
It's, I think a radio show.
I'm not sure. What was it? You're
KY
digging deep.
Yeah,
Okay.
KYW. KYW News Radio.
That's pretty that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it 1060? All right, am I getting the memorization
Yeah.
right? The little jingle? That sticks with you. All right, here's the last one. Which Super Bowl halftime performer's wardrobe malfunction led directly to Congress increasing FCC fines tenfold?
Well, this one I remember because I thought this was going to be the first one. Obviously, it's
Uh-huh.
with Justin Timberlake
Uh-huh.
and Janet Jackson.
And Janet Jackson, yeah.
And I really don't think people realize what happened to Janet Jackson's career after that,
Mm-hmm.
and how she was blacklisted and pretty much had her career ruined
Yeah.
for something that Justin Timberlake did. And look where he ended up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And his star is not rising as high anymore these days anyway. He's kind of
No,
getting
it's
dragged. He's getting dragged on social media pretty aggressively. But thanks for playing FCC Won't Let Me Be. Sean, how do you decide what issues in Pennsylvania politics to focus on when you're writing or investigating a topic? So I know you said your newsletter is a lot of labor, but how do you decide which issues to focus on?
Earlier this summer, we wrote about Racetown Lake out in western Pennsylvania, which is a very popular tourist attraction. It's a dam that by the Army Corps of Engineers that was closed. They closed down all the campsites because of Elon Musk and Doge. Brings in tens of millions of tourism dollars every year to these rural counties. And
Mhm.
they lost out a summer of tourism because of what Doge did. And, there's a couple of reports after like Labor Day week, or not Labor Day, but Memorial Day, about basically like how no one was on the lake because of these
Mhm.
cuts and the campgrounds are completely empty. Like those are the type of stories that mixes what we're looking at.
Mhm.
Impacts on the local level, direct effects of how these cuts or how like government is impacting something that like Pennsylvanians love. Like Racetown Lake is one of the most popular tourist attractions in the state. If you're in that part of Pennsylvania, that's either like going to the Poconos or going to the shore for the weekend. It's going to like Racetown
Mhm.
Lake.
That's a
And
crazy story.
yeah,
That's why it's important that you continue to get the word out in your newsletters and your reporting because people have to know this stuff. That we live in a 5-second world, and if people don't understand the nuances of what's happening in Harrisburg, then they're just going to keep either not paying attention, not showing up to vote, or voting in ways that hurt themselves and other people around them.
or they're just not going to realize until things actually directly affect them.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
like we're in the finding out phase in a lot of ways right now, and like
Mhm.
we're going to be finding out for the many years to come because of what's happened over
Yes.
this. And the one thing I will say, I will add to this, this is like a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when people, Democrats or people on the left, try to shame those on the right for losing healthcare coverage or losing access to this lake because of their consequences of their votes. Like, I think we
Mhm.
should be compassionate with that because we're not going to win people over by acting like tribalism. Well, this is what you get for because you voted for this.
Yeah, it's certainly a fine line to walk. I mean, there's obviously a lot of pain that's been caused by the consequences of their actions. And so for people who are being hurt now, right? Like there are a lot of people who found out how bad this was going to be right after the election happened, right? There are lots of people who were shouting from the rooftops, we knew it was going to be this bad. And it has been bad for them. And now it's
And
like,
I
oh,
think
now
one,
you're finding out. It's like, oh, now, you weren't there for us in the beginning. And now it's kind of like, well, you want us to be there for you. It's a difficult dynamic.
and also, I mean, like we were screaming on the rooftops about Project 2025 last year,
Yeah.
and just like literally just going through bullet point by bullet point right now and doing this. And like this is where I think like where the mainstream media has really failed
Yeah.
to connect people. Like you want to talk about one of the biggest failures, like this double standard that the mainstream media held with Harris and Trump.
Uh-huh.
If like Kamala Harris would have to put out a white paper and like bullet points on every single economic proposal she came up with, while the media just gave Trump a pass for talking about Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. Or
Like,
like a,
like,
or like a
like,
concept of a plan.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's also a big that was a big, just one of the biggest frustrations last year. Just like you're just covering this horse race stuff, and you're just giving the other side a pass
Right.
because you're covering it as a horse race.
I completely agree. Well, I'm glad that you choose to focus on local issues that affect people directly, again, to keep people focused and to try and influence change in their towns. You file right to know requests, which are a formal written request to government agencies for access to public records, laws that are designed to ensure government transparency, essentially. So, how often do you make these requests, and what types of stories are you investigating when you do that?
The one thing I did do in the past that was awesome, and this is, I don't want to give away the secret, but you're able to get your legislative emails in
Okay.
Pennsylvania when your legislators talk to county or local officials.
Okay.
So in Pennsylvania, the emails between your legislator and the lobbyists are private. But when your legislator emails someone at a state agency or someone at the county commissioner's office or your
Uh-huh.
local elections office, all those emails are open game for the public records.
Oh.
And during the pandemic, my previous job, filed right to know requests looking for legislative emails pretty much in like every county commissioner office in Pennsylvania. And one of the things we uncovered were about like hundreds or thousands of emails out of Lebanon County. Basically, just like how Russ Diamond,
Oh, I
there
hate
was a
Russ Diamond.
other state senator, Geppert at the time. He passed away afterwards. But like they were all in this like cabal, just like trying to like go against the governor's COVID protocols.
Mm.
And we got like hundreds of emails just like outlining it, scheming, and really just also got nuggets of information in there I wouldn't have known about like other people. I've done the same thing with county election offices. I found a state representative who claimed to find like 30 dead people voting in his district. And like you had these people just like
Ay, ay.
talking to each other on their emails. Free legal advice. If you don't want something read out in court,
Yeah.
Don't put it down in an email.
Unbelievable.
The stuff people put in their emails,
Mhm.
legislators put in their emails, absolute gold, but also just like embarrassing at times too.
It's terrible. I can't stand Russ Diamond. He like trolled me on Twitter when I used to be on Twitter. He's like an anti-vaxxer, election denier. I can't believe these people exist in our state legislature. They're just really not good people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I will say, like, there are some Republicans I can get along with in Harrisburg, but
Yeah.
for the most part, no.
No. Yeah. They have their marching
Like Doug
orders.
Mastriano is not someone I'm going to be palling around with.
Oh my God.
I think there's just this mutual. I just think there's just mutual like distrust that Mastriano and myself, where we
Yeah.
both like it's sort of like game respects game at this point.
He's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean it's one thing to have like a boilerplate crazy Republican. The Christian nationalism just ratchets that up like a whole nother level that like I don't
Yeah.
think people really understand.
We get it. We both get it for sure. Well, Sean, these panels on large media outlets like CNN and Fox, they have these experts who get paid to sit around and just spout opinions. I personally hate them. I can't stand them. I really don't think that debate culture brings anything to the table. If anything, it just platforms misinformation. Do you think there's any benefit to these forums whatsoever?
No, not at all. I mean, all it is just sports debate talk.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like they're turning these talk panels into just free for alls with who has like the worst spit take.
Right.
That's all my good. But at this point, it's not a spit take about sports. It's a spit take about supporting fascism
Right.
and authoritarianism and why those things are good in their views.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's one step removed from these people who sit in a room surrounded by 20 people and then they just like run up and they like debate someone for a couple minutes and they won't run back, except they're wearing suits, on CNN or Fox News or something. I feel like it's really taking this country in the wrong direction.
And also personally, I don't think that there's a need to debate these people, period.
Right.
Like there's no need to debate Nick Fuentes, like, these people, their views, they're Nazis, they're
Right.
right-wing, fascists. Like, you don't need to debate these people
No.
and just, like, give them a platform or a space to just spout off their talking points, because that's all they're doing is just being bad faith actors by
Right.
engaging in these debates.
Yeah. And making money off of it too. What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? I think, like, just talking to people who are like-minded, building our communities, building solidarity, building community networks to rely on each other. Like, we're really gonna have to like be our own movement and rely on each other in the upcoming year, not just the year, the next few years. Like, if we're gonna have hope and get through this, it's gonna be from like within, with all of us coming together.
Yeah, we have to stick together. And my last question for you is, what plans do you have to get yourself through these next few years?
I will say, like, definitely take care of your mental health with this. I go to a therapist. I'm not afraid to
Me
admit
too.
that.
Me too.
But like having someone to talk your problems to is one of the top things. Taking care of your mental health is probably the most important thing. Go out, take a walk, take a break sometimes. Like, find things that takes your stress out. I mean, I'm busy with my job, the union that I'm with. I'm on the bargaining committee, also covering the campaign next year. So it is going to be really packed. But, that's also the one thing about my job I like so much. There's so little downtime where I don't have time to dwell on like the horrible things Trump's doing, because I hate to say like disassociating, but like I'm stuck here looking at stuff in Pennsylvania.
And I'm happy you're doing it. I really am. Well, Sean Kitchen, Pennsylvanian, journalist, writer for the Keystone Press, and now has a newsletter. So I really hope everyone checks it out. He's doing great work. And I just really appreciate what you're doing, Sean, for Democrats in Pennsylvania. We need truth tellers. We need people who will have that ethical core to get people the news that they need in a timely fashion and to never stray from those ideologies. So I really appreciate you.
Okay, no, thank you very much. It was a great time talking.
Absolutely. Let's stay in touch, okay?
No, let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Zekely Podcast. Stay hopeful and get involved. And until next time, let's keep building a stronger Pennsylvania together.